Hi people, it's Sarcovist here, and today I'm going to be exploring the question, why do people hate Call of Duty? And to answer this question I need to provide a bit of an anecdote to start us off with. So back when I was doing regular weekly videos to give to TGN, sadly I'm far too busy now in my life to do that, but back when I would make top 10s and top 5s. And before I gave them the top 10s or top 5s, they would review them and say, yes, this list is fine. And something I'd often hear is that, sorry, we can't have this game in the list, it's not very popular with our viewers, with the TGN audience. And one of those games was Call of Duty, so whenever I wanted to include Call of Duty in a top 10 or top 5 list, I would be told, sorry, you can't include that, our audience won't react to it well. And that opened my eyes to something that I think Call of Duty as a series may possibly be a victim to. And this is a bit of conspiracy on my part, but I think it's also very important to say where I stand on the series. I have grown somewhat tired of Call of Duty, not because I think the games have got worse, I think they're absolutely fine, but I've been playing this series for a long time now. If you play something for long enough, you will eventually grow to dislike it and become tired of it because it's been going on for so long. It's just natural, and that's where I am with the series. I do not hate it, I don't resent it, I enjoy my memories, and I still like the games because they remind me of a time when I really liked it, and I don't think they're any worse. They are simply very similar to each other. There's always been an attraction in the internet media to create an idea that is controversial because people will flock to it. I mean, I'm almost certain you guys will have heard of clickbait articles, and a lot of the time clickbait articles will say something that is deliberately provocative, something that will annoy people because people do tend to go for things they disagree with. Let me give you an example. If you see a list of articles and one of them says, why Minecraft sucks, well, you may not agree with that. You probably don't agree with it. I certainly don't agree with it. But the thing is, you're so curious as to how such a contrarian opinion has been created that you click on the article anyway. And at one point in time, Call of Duty was not only very popular, but it was revered, it was loved, it was a vastly enjoyed game. I think Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 1 were the best examples of when the series was a beloved series. It was enjoyed, loads of people played it and weren't ashamed to say they played it. And so at the time, people would say why Call of Duty sucks, and they would highlight things like why it's not very realistic, and to be fair, it's not very realistic. It's a very fun game, but things like rebounding health and very low recoil on guns aren't very realistic, and sites would go for that. Some people would agree with it, they would enjoy the contrarian view, but I think the majority of people would just enjoy the series for what it was. But when Modern Warfare 3 came out, these contrarian views had something they could really go for because it was a legitimate criticism, the fact that the series had become copy and paste. Modern Warfare 3 was so similar to Modern Warfare 2. All of a sudden, these contrarian minority views had something that was a legitimate criticism, something that people would actually agree with. I mean, I agreed with it. Modern Warfare 3 was a fine game in and of itself, but it was so similar to its predecessor that you couldn't get away from the fact that it almost seemed like you were being ripped off. And of course, they would charge a lot of money for DLC. Hell, they still charge a lot of money for DLC. And all of a sudden, this small opinion grew and grew and grew until it became the larger opinion. People started thinking, wait a second, the series isn't so great, it is just the same thing every year, it's rubbish. And not only rubbish, but they would say they hate it because opinions can slide like that. People, when you look at the larger opinions of things, people are very much one thing or the other. There's the love or there's the hate. The people in the middle are ignored because their opinion is basically boring. So people only pay attention to the much love or the much hate. I mean, take Metacritic. Ask yourself, do you go on Metacritic much? Well, I bet if you go to the reviews, I bet you look at the highest score review and you look at the lowest score review. You might dabble in the middle, but you really want to look at why people either really love the game or why people really hate the game. And furthermore, I really bet you go for that negative one because the negative one is always so interesting, especially if the game is popular or got a lot of hype. I'm trying to remember, I think it was Grand Theft Auto 5 where a review was not as favourable as others, and it was for GameSpot. I mean, although there was a lot of hate for that review. It got enormous views because people were so interested to hear why people didn't like it. It's almost like a tactic. Unfortunately, the internet thrives on negativity. It's like negative cohesion, essentially, and it's something I vastly dislike. It's almost as if these large gaming sites and these large gaming YouTube channels that are run methodically rather than by a passion are trying to propagate an opinion that will both get them views and also create a little bit of controversy, so there's a lot of interaction. It's a rather, as I say, methodical way of doing it rather than an honest way. It's like manufactured hate. Now, I don't believe Call of Duty to be an absolute masterpiece of a series, but when you look back at recent entries like Black Ops 2 and Advanced Warfare, yes, I left out Ghosts, they are fine games. Look at them for what they are, and they are solid titles. They have good arcadey gameplay. Nothing wrong with gameplay being arcadey, by the way. It just makes it a little tighter, and realism isn't necessarily the best way to go every time. Graphics are fine, in my opinion. Frame rates are solid. Enjoyable games, but because of that stigma that has been put in them from really Modern Warfare 3's mistake and this propagated mistake, they are still looked upon with suspicion. It's very fun to jump on and attack and bring down what was popular, was once popular. I mean, don't just take games, take movies, take celebrities. People love nothing more, well, some people love nothing more than to see a celebrity who was once so high get brought down to the gutter, and it's a similar thing with games. And it's an interesting thing to watch and analyse and look at. And I feel like with Call of Duty, it deserves one of two things. It deserves apathy for being the same thing every year, so people just not really caring about it, and that is my opinion. So when I look at Black Ops 3 that's on the horizon, I don't think, oh, Activision, I hate them, they're releasing another Call of Duty game, I hate them, I hate them, I hate them. I think, looks interesting, I'm not going to pre-order it, but you know what, I'll probably end up buying it because it's a fun series with solid mechanics, it's enjoyable. Or love, because the mechanics are so solid, it's fair to say that there are people out there who probably still really enjoy it. And you also have to take into account that not everyone has been playing since Modern Warfare 1, or maybe Call of Duty 1. There are plenty of people out there who have only just started playing the series, and so to them it's all fresh and new and enjoyable. But to say hate, it just seems so unnecessary and extreme. I think there is maybe in some ways an element of disliking the publisher, because admittedly it's very easy to get cynical about Call of Duty, because when you're playing it you do feel like it's being made less because the developers had this desire and this passion to bring you a realistic first-person shooter, and more because they realised that their profit margins will benefit vastly. I do get that, and I in some ways agree with that, but to hate the game immensely for that reason seems a bit far. But that's just my view on it. So that's it. That's my analysis, my opinion on the Call of Duty series and how popular opinion has been moulded both for it and against it, depending on what time frame you're looking at it. As always, people, thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.